Ooh, what have we got here then? Oh, let's zoom in a bit, have a closer look. Ooh, maybe a bit more. Ooh, isn't she a sexy beast? This is the Ryobi. Ooh, LLCDI 1802. Oh, isn't she a beaut? Right, before I can get into why I feel like this is an excellent power drill. No, well, this isn't necessarily a great power drill. It's just the one that I use. But before I can get into the reasons of the whys and the whats, let's move over to my favourite mode. Aha, let's try this out. And here we are, sketchbook mode and my Ryobi drill. And the reasons why this is both a good piece of kit and just any old medium power drill I will get to in a moment. There's an important thing to note first before we get into that, and that is if you're watching this channel, then you're watching me, and I have a firm belief that this, a nail, and this, a hammer, is an inferior solution to this, a screw, and this, a power drill. I really don't like my hammer. I just use it for bashing stuff. I don't ever use nails. I have a box with them in, and that box stays at the bottom of a pile, and it never gets opened. Just stays there forever. These are precision. These are really good. It's just a much better method of joining things together. You might have your complaints about the look of it, but I'm an engineer. I don't give a toss what it looks like. I just care about how good it is. So if you're watching this channel, then you have to proceed with the assumption that I'm not going to be talking about these. I have a whole video planned as to why this is inferior to this. And if you're interested in understanding why I feel that way, by all means check out that video. For the purposes of this one, we're just going to put these to one side and assume they don't exist, and proceed on the basis of just this one, because this is the one that we need. This is the chap to do the job. But before we can do that, let's have a look at a few things that aren't right or won't do the job. Okay. So the first item that I think is the wrong thing to get is this boy here. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to just hold it back from you for a moment now. The reason why this exists in my mind is because there's a Duracell advert where a lady is putting together some what looks like IKEA furniture, and she puts some Duracell batteries in her little power drill, and she's like amazingly surprised that it now suddenly screws a screw into a piece of furniture. Like, it makes me laugh every time I see it, because what, you're surprised that this item you've bought is doing the job that it was designed to do? So I went down to my local DIY store to go and find one of these power drills with the AA batteries, because I wanted to demonstrate how poor they were. And it turns out that they've been completely taken off the market and replaced by something like this, which, it's improved, isn't it? Improved. It's not really improved. It's just a little bit worse. So, I wanted to buy one of those ones powered by AA batteries, which are the wrong drill. Don't do that. They're totally the wrong option. This is also the wrong option. This is a power drill that's got a lithium-ion battery built in, so it recharges the whole unit essentially. So the reason why I think it's worse is because if you were charged up, you were using it, and then suddenly the batteries ran out, you'd have to charge the whole unit. At least with the ones with the replaceable AA batteries, you can take those batteries out and maybe recharge them and replace them and get back to work straight away. Like, what? You've made it worse. Anyway, I didn't buy the cheapest one because this one just kind of leapt out at me. It looked actually quite useful, and I thought I might actually have some kind of use for this. So the documentation on the website says it can do 90 screws from a single charge on a battery. I mean, that is just pathetic. That would, down here, that could last me like an hour. But, micro, I don't know what it's called, the rubbish one, the one that you don't want, charging slots, And the reason why it appealed to me, and I spent more money on it, is because it's got this kind of retractable, revolving chamber of drill bits. Why didn't you come out? There we go. And it's just a really nifty little neat solution to what you can, where keeping all these things in the same place. I just thought that was really, really cool. And these are really, really easy to replace. You just take it out and put a different one in, so you can have your own custom set of bits in here. So for me, the reason why I feel this is, I mean, I do a lot of work on my PC, and this is probably quite useful to just, you know, you don't have to worry about carrying a whole load of bits around or bits of chuck, you know. These ones, you basically have a chuck that the drill bit goes into. So there's an extra thing that you need to carry around. This doesn't even need either of them. It's just, and I can replace these with the bits that I actually want. You know, I am a little bit conflicted about this one because I do think it's a nifty design. I just don't like the idea that the batteries aren't replaceable. You know, if you're solely relying on this to do your handiwork, then it's going to run out and you're going to be stuffed. I suppose if you're just putting together furniture, like in the Duracell advert, like you're just putting together some IKEA something or other, this might do the job. 90 screws, you know, that's probably a cabinet, maybe. And then that's 90 screws off a full brand new battery, you know, who knows where it's going to go after a few years. But anyway, the reason why I bought it was because this is not going to do the job down here. Absolutely pathetic. It's going to have no power. It's got no adjustability options on it. Nothing I can change, nothing I can fiddle with. It's just a bog standard drill. But I didn't just buy it for no reason. It's because I think I am going to find some use for it somewhere along the ways. So don't get one of these if you're looking to do serious woodwork. If you're just putting together IKEA furniture or working on a computer or something little that you just need a few screws every now and then, this might be perfect for you. But, you know, be aware, the battery, you know, it's going to run out and then you're going to be not having a power drill for anything you need from that point onwards until it's recharged. So that's that little one, which is one example of this kind of drill that you don't want to get. Nice design though, I do like it, but not for the workshop. The next one is what's called an impact driver. So I went and got this thing, new battery, don't really care. It gives me a new 2 amp hour battery, that's probably worth 50 or 60 quid just on its own. So, you know, not a bad, even though I've bought this just for this, and I'm not probably going to use this, I am going to use the battery, that's going to be super useful. So let's get this thing open. Right, so that's what you get in a box. You get some drill bits and a case. I've got so many of these. So many of these, completely pointless. Just a complete... If you imagine that you've got 5 or 6 tools, you know, and you've got an individual bag for each one, you know, 5 or 6 bags, who uses these? I suppose I've got to put it in something, but anyway, I don't use that. Charger, I've got a couple of these spare that I don't need, so that go in the box with the rest of them. Brand new battery, excellent. Yeah, it is what it is. Some driver bits. So this is an impact driver. It's not your average power drill. It is quite distinctly different from the normal chap. And it has a very, very different purpose. If we look on top, we'll see we've got no switches at all, no options, no nothing on the impact driver. On the normal power drill, we've got some tabs to play with, we've got some levers, we've got some buttons, and all of these levers and stuff really super useful for down in the workshop. This got nothing, no options at all. It goes forwards and it goes backwards, and that's all it does. So this is the wrong, what this is for, let's get rid of this. If you imagine you've got a bolt on a car and it's slightly rusted, and what you want, I brought this out just for this special occasion, what you want is to impact, you want to impact it, you know, that first where it hits, and you want it to impact, to break the rust, you know, you just want to, That's what this guy does. It turns and it's like, that's what an impact driver, that's what it's meant to do. What this is for, if you're working on cars, I'd imagine this is absolutely priceless. There was a slightly more expensive version of one of these for another 50 or 60 quid or something, and it had some speed controls, but, you know, I don't really know what I'm going to use this for, so I didn't want to spend any more money on it. I was only really buying it for the battery, so, well, and to show you guys what not to do. So this is an impact driver. It's the wrong chap for the workshop. It's the wrong chap for wood. I mean, what wood really hates, I mean, this is another reason why I don't like the hammer. What wood really hates is impact. You know, wood hates it. It's just going to split and splinter. You know, what you want is something delicate that turns a screw quite slowly but powerfully, so that it's always the screw head is always turning, but it's turning slowly, and it just kind of squeezed its way into the wood. You don't want to bash it in that's the wrong way to go, and that's why the hammer's, you know, it's just the wrong tool for the job. And in exactly the same way, this is the wrong tool for the job. So, what is the right tool for the job? That's the important question. That's what we're here to discuss. What is the right tool for the job? So, the right tool for the job, or at least the way that I've deemed it to be the right tool, is this one, the Ryobi, you know, with a battery in it. I like it. It's got a good kind of center of gravity. It's basically on the trigger. You know, it's a nice power drill. But that's not. I didn't buy it because it was a Ryobi. I bought it because these batteries. You know, let's just take it one bit apart. Right. The power drill itself. You know, any power drill you find on the market is going to be very, very similar. You know, you could almost argue that they're coming out of the same factory and that they're just putting different colours, different branding on it, because they all have the same switches, the same numbers, the same basic functionality. As far as I've seen anyway. So the base drill itself is just a power drill. Like as long as you get a decent one that's, you know, that's got a brand on it. You know, don't just get any cheap crap. Get one that you know that's renowned, that you know that's going to last. Then it doesn't matter what power drill you get. The thing that's important is the battery. And that's why I got these Ryobis, is because these batteries at the time, I think it's something that all manufacturers are doing now, but at the time that I got these, that I set up, Ryobi was the only one where these batteries were interchangeable, where you could pop it in a power drill and a power saw, you could put it in a torch and a radio. I've got a hedge trimmer and an edge, what's it called? I think what's called a trimmer for trimming the edges of your lawn. You know, I've got some garden power tools that work off these same batteries. So when I went and got some power drills, that was, I mean, to be honest, it was on the recommendation of my dad. He said, "Oh, these Ryobis are really good. I've got them down my. He's a builder, so he does some work on site. I've got these and they're really good. Try it out." So I bought some Ryobis, and you know, once you've got a battery, and you're committed to that battery. So that's really the first tip I wanted to get across, you know. The brand of the power drill, not necessarily all that important, because it's going to come with the same features regardless of what one you get. But the batteries themselves, you want to make sure that you can buy replacement ones, that they're easy to get hold of. You want to make sure that they go in a lot of different tools, and it's worthwhile researching the tools that you can get before you buy a power drill, because once you've got one of these, you're stuck with this particular brand of battery. What you don't want to have a situation where you've got lots of different brands, lots of different batteries, lots of different battery chargers. That sounds like a horrible situation. The way to go is to find a battery manufacturer, you know, that will work across a whole platform of devices, tools, whatever you want to call them, and then just get the bog standard power drill that goes with those batteries, because the unit itself is going to be the same. The thing that you're paying for is the battery. I'm almost convinced that they sell these things at a loss to sell these batteries, because the batteries are just ridiculously expensive. I've got 2 of these. Let me just go and get the other one. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I've got 2 of these, and this one doesn't get used as much. I mean, it's actually in a little bit better nick. But I bought these at the same time. And the reason why I bought these was because, and why I bought 2, it's not because of my workshop philosophy where I want 2 of the same thing in here, because, you know, these are big, you're not going to lose this. You almost always know where it's going to go. And I've got a particular caddy for it on my worktop. I just slot it in and I just can sit it there. So no matter what I'm doing with it, if I'm tidying up, it just goes in there. I know where it's going to be. That's not why I bought 2. The reason why I bought 2 was because at Christmas, these tool companies, they do like dad's bundles where you buy a lot of stuff for not a lot of money. So I got these 2 power drills, I got 2 batteries for £100. I mean, it was a few years ago, and they did do a deal last Christmas. I think it was £120 or something, a little bit more expensive. But, you know, these batteries cost £40, £50 each. So if you're spending £100 on 2 batteries, then you get, the way that I was looking at it was I was getting these for free. So I've got 2 power drills. Now, it has actually turned out to be useful, because it means that I can have 1 power drill down the house, 1 power drill in the workshop. It means that I can fit different drill bits. If I'm doing a lot of drilling and hold stuff, sometimes I have a drill bit in here and a countersink in here, and I just go bop, 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 and then put that drill down, pick up another drill, and bop, 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 bop. You know, having 2 of these guys has actually turned out to be really, really useful. But, you know, the Ryobi doesn't matter. Don't care. Just get the ones with the batteries that are interchangeable, that you can get replacements for, and they work across a whole platform. In terms of features, that's what I want to go through now. So let's just put this one back just for a second. Okay, so these power drills, they have a number of different levers and options and such on them, and it can be a little bit daunting to look at it. You know, there's not a lot of them, but, you know, it's a power tool, so they're all big and chunky. They do specific jobs, you know. It is a good power drill. I mean, I know I'm dissing Ryobi. I'm not necessarily dissing Ryobi. I'm not necessarily singing its praises, but it's, you know, it's probably 8, 9 years old. It's still going real strong. You know, I've had no problems with it. So, I mean, hats off to Ryobi in that sense. That, you know, it has done a good job. I can't speak to other manufacturers, but this one is, you know, it has done well. But so let's go through main functions. So to start off at the very basics, we've got a trigger. This obviously turns the drill or whatever you're putting in the chuck. This particular model, it's got like an adjustable power. This button doesn't just, it's not just on or off. If you squeeze it a little bit, it'll only rotate slowly. Let's put a battery next to this one. So it'll only rotate a little slowly, and if I push more and more and more, you know, you can use this to adjust how quickly this is turning. That's really useful to be able to, you know, to fine tune it in no matter what, to be what you want. Then we've got these are the direction switches. This is always here. It's always in a useful space because you want to just flick it with your thumb and your finger. One goes one way, one goes the other. Basic stuff. On the top, we've got a big chunky basics, this switch. One makes the drill turn slow. So if we've got it on 1, let's go full pelt. 2 goes a little bit faster. Doesn't it? Why isn't it? Oh, we're on that setting. Okay. 1, 2. All right, it sounds the same, but it's... let's do this again. Right. 1, 2. It is spinning much, much faster. It's just the motor is spinning exactly the same rate. 1, 2. So, yeah, that's what this does. For me, 1 is for when I'm screwing screws, Because as I said, when you're squeezing this guy into a piece of wood, you want it to be slow but powerful. And the thing with these electric motors is power is inverse to speed. I mean, that's how it works. So if you've got the drill bit spinning really, really quickly, it's not doing it with much power. And I know that's difficult to understand sometimes, but if it's spinning slowly, then it has more power. And that's that. Oh. Anyway, I use speed number 1 for drill bits for screws because it screws them slowly, and that gives me it just levers its way into the piece of wood itself. For 2, I use drill bits. Let me just go get a drill bit. Oh man, I'm not prepared at all for this. So a drill bit. A drill bit basically makes a hole by cutting the wood. So, you know, if you've got a knife and you're just scraping it across something, and if you scrape it across faster, obviously it's going to cut that thing better. So when you're doing drills, when you're drilling holes, you want it on speed 2. And when you're just drilling, screwing screws, you want it on the lower speed. Because, again, this is something else. You're relying on the contact between the drill bit and the screw head. So if you spin this too quickly, it's just going to either ruin the screw head or ruin the drill bit. They're going to separate from each other, and you're going to cut off. You're just going to ruin the screw and the drill bit. So you want these to be spinning slowly. You know, here's the thing: carpentry takes a long time. If you want something good, you just got to it takes a little bit longer. That's how it works. You know, you can knock together a box in a few hours. If you spend twice the amount of time, you can knock together a better box. So take your time, do it right. That's how I approach this. I told this to my dad. My brother and my dad came down to do some work on my house, and I explained this to my brother and my dad, and they were initially like, oh, that's interesting. And then literally an hour or so later, they'd gone back to using 2 setting on absolutely everything. I was just like, wow. You know, there's only so far you can teach people. There's only so far you can go. And that's probably an important lesson. You know, if it works for you, then just do it. You know, this is the way that I approach the thing. If you want to approach it a different way, that's totally your deal. I'm not here to tell you how to do it. I'm just telling you this is how I approach the problem. So that's this switch up here. We've also got this switch here, and this has 3 settings on it. The setting over here, this is on the drill setting, so this gives maximum power all the time. Whatever the battery has got to give, it will give you it. Over on this side, we've got a hammer drill. I mean, this still gives you maximum power for the hammer drill, but that's for drilling into walls and stuff. And to be honest, I would not recommend using a common battery-powered power drill for drilling into walls, unless you're doing like 1 or 2 of them. You know, if you're doing a lot of holes in a masonry wall, you want a proper dedicated drill. I mean, I've got a proper dedicated drill. Let me show you my. So this is my proper dedicated drill. If I'm doing big holes in masonry or anything serious, I don't want to use these because it will just ruin the battery. And the batteries are so expensive. You got to preserve them. You got to use them the way that they want to be used. Otherwise, you just ruin them, and then you will end up with no batteries or spending a fortune on replacements. So whenever I have a load of holes in walls that I want to make, this is the dude for the job. This is bullet. It's just, you know, there's something about mains power. You just can't beat it in some situations. And, you know, drilling into walls is a heavy duty application. That's not a simple, you know, wood is soft. You can drill into it easily. You can put screws in it. It's simple. But walls are hard. They're difficult. You want something meaty to do the job. So this is what I use for masonry walls. Obviously, let's get rid of you. This has the feature to be able to do it. I just wouldn't recommend using it for any sort of serious application on masonry walls. It's just too much power for the job. You know, the battery and everything else. So I would leave that alone. But you know, again, up to you how you want to approach things. The middle jobby, this guy engages the chuck lock on the front. So this is like this restricts the amount of power that goes to the drill bit. So if we imagine that we're drilling, in fact, let me go through it first. If you imagine you're drilling screws into a piece of plywood and you use 4, it will only go a little bit into the ply. If you use 8, it will drill in a little bit more. If you use 12, it will go in a little bit more. So this kind of adjusts the amount of power that can be applied to this. And when you engage it, it starts clicking. Let's do it here. See? That's it. That's it applying too much. See, it stops it from going all the way in. And if I went more power, it would go further in. Let's bring it out. I'm not a fan of drilling holes into this. You'll notice there's not a lot of holes. This whole workbench is well due for replacement, so I'm not too fussed about this. Let's do a really, really low number. Let's do 1. How far does 1 go in? Yeah, it barely goes in at all. I suppose you can't even see that. Okay, let me do a demonstration. Let's do this properly. In fact, no, let's finish off with all in a jumble. I mean, that is basically all of the features. You know, we've got the trigger for power. We've got a direction change. We've got the switch for adjusting the speed of the drill and by logical extension the power. So 1 is low speed, high power. 2 is high speed, low power. We've got the dial on the top, which deals with a hammer drill. Gives us all power. Regardless of this setting, it will just spin slower. And then this is an adjustable chuck for, you know, adjusting. I don't have an application for this. I wish I could just say, oh, this is why you use it. This is how you do it. You know, I know how it works. I just never use it. I've always got it on full power. I don't use the hammer drill. I don't use this guy because that disengages this. And now I get all the power that the battery's got to give. I just have it set to all the power and then I adjust this depending on what I'm doing with the power drill. That's all I do. Nothing more complicated than that. If I'm drilling, I want it on 2. And if I'm doing some screwing, I'll just have it on 1. That's all I use it for. This guy, this adjustable chuck, I genuinely don't know what to use it for. And you know, I've been doing woodworking for a long old time. And I've never had an application for it. If I had a single case where I've used it for a single purpose, I would tell you, but I don't. It's there. How you use it, you know, that's up to you. I can only really tell you how it works and then how I apply it. So that's the power drill itself. Let's do some practical tests to show how it really works, because you know it's easier to see it. Post-edit edition, I've been a complete doofer, so there's a fair few things I haven't talked about, and I need to cover them before I start getting into practical demonstrations. I was just getting too excited, getting too ahead of myself. All right, so topic number 1, chucks. So there are 2 basic chucks on these drills. I haven't seen a cordless power drill like this with an old style chuck for years. Most of them are all just manually you just tighten with your hand. My big drill, obviously this one is putting out a lot more power, so the torque on the end is much greater. So this still has an old style chuck. I mean, you'd have to be living somewhere where technology has stood still for like 15 years to not have one of these chucks. But, you know, maybe you find a cordless power drill with one of these dingoes in it. Who knows? Just one thing to mention. That was just one thing I forgot about mentioning, the chucks itself. You know, it's something just to look out for. You don't want one where it's adjustable with one of these things, because you just put these things down and lose it. That's why this thing stays in its case, so that I can keep bits in there that are particular for this drill. Because the stuff that's applicable for this drill are completely different from that one. This is like a different set of... I mean, the drill bits are still the same. They're just bigger and chunkier. I just don't use them. I've got a drill bit that won't fit in here. It's too big. It will fit in here, but not in here. So, yeah, that stuff gets kept in here. That's the first thing. The second thing is what we use for the drilling itself. Not drilling, screwing. So, first tip, flat heads. Don't use them. Leave them alone. Leave the boxes of screws on the shelf. They're horrible. Just don't touch them. The screws seem to want to eject the screw head when you use them in a power drill. It will just go, and you'll find your hand will just whiz off it. Just rubbish. Don't use them. Second thing, buy proper tungsten bits. Don't buy rubbishy materials. This is a rubbish material. It's like some gold coating. It's worn down. Rubbish. Don't bother. They stay in the bottom of the box and they don't get used. Don't bother. What you need, proper tungsten bits. And, you know, these things are not expensive. I just went and bought these because I didn't have any and I wanted to demonstrate them to you. This was £4 for 10. And this will last me years. There's no, unless I lose them, there's no way I'll get through them. So buy proper bits. And the other thing, there's only 3 screwdriver bits you need. And they are, there's a PZ1, there's a, which one is it? There's a PZ2 and then there's a PZ3, and that's all you need. Just the 3 of them. Don't get suckered into buying a box like this, which is just full of an assortment of bits, because you only need these 3 in that box. These are the only 3 you'll need. So, you know, you're going to end up with a whole lot of flat. I mean, I was a sucker. I did it. I've got a whole load of bits here which I don't use. These are like mostly hexagonal bits, and you know, I think I've got some Allen key bits. These are the bits just I don't get used. So I kept the box, you know, as a memento, as foolishness. Don't do it. Just get a few packets of these or a box of these. You know, they're a couple of quid, and they'll be the only ones you'll need. You only need these 3: PZ1, PZ2, and PZ3. And the reason is because these 3 will do all screws. As long as you're staying in the Phillips world, the Phillips screwdriver head, the Phillips screws, then these 3 will do everything. Small screws, medium screws, and big chunky ones. This is all you need, okay? 3 drill bits. Tungsten, get a packet of them. That's all I need to say about that. Next, drill bits. There are 3 different kinds of drill bits. Let's go to my random box. I think I've got all sorts of drill bits in here. There's one. Definitely got a masonry bit, a wooden drill bit. Have I got a steel one? There it is. Okay, so the way you can tell these 3 apart, pretty simple. This is the wooden drill bit, and it's got a point on the top, a very, very sharp point. So when you stick it into a piece of wood before you drill, you'll be able to find your center point really, really easy. That's how you know it's for wood. It's got this point on the front. If it's got a big chunky head on the front like this one, then this is for masonry. These are generally made out of tungsten because they need to be hard, because they need to drill through masonry. I think these are probably some high carbon steel because they've got to be sharp. So they're very, very different purposes. And then the third type is a steel drill bit, and this is for drilling through pieces of steel, not that it's made of pieces of steel. I very much doubt it's made of steel, but it's got neither. It's got no sharp point to the top of it. Where's focus? There it is. It's got no sharp point to the top of it, and it's neither got a big head. So it's kind of, you know, it's got neither of these things. I don't ever drill through steel. These kind of found its way into the box, and I probably have used it just for wood, but it's not very good, and it's not sharp as a result. As I said, you know, if you're drilling into wood, what you want it to do is to cut the wood. The steel bit probably operates in a different way, and it's cutting through something different. So it's, you know, the drill bits for the wood's got a sharp point. They're made of carbon steel. The ones for masonry got a big head on them. And they're made of tungsten. That's probably all you need to know. Don't need to worry about steel. We're not doing any welding down here. So ignore the steel bits. We're just going to use these sorts of 2. And, you know, if you wanted to get an assortment of drill bits, that's actually not a terrible idea. You'll find out very quickly which drill bits you use, because you'll either lose them or break them, and then those would be the ones to go and get a packet of. That's probably the best way to play it, because, you know, drill bits, you use all sorts of different sizes, all different, you know, I got, I don't know, a dozen or so different shapes and sizes, whereas the bits themselves, you know, the screwdriver bits, I only have 3 different types. So I just wanted to add that onto the end of the video, because I missed that out first time around. Let's do another thing which I haven't done. Let's do some screws, because that's probably important as well, thinking about it now. Okay, so when you get a box of screws, the box of screws will have 2 numbers on it, like this. This one is 3 by 30, and what we have here is 3 by 20 and 3 by 25. So hopefully you get an idea of the sort of different ranges of sizes that we've got available to us. And this is a very small selection I've dug out. I'll show you my screw collection in a second. So the first number, the 3, that's the diameter. I don't think it means millimeters. I think it means something else. But that's the bigger the number, the wider the diameter of the screw itself. And then the second number is the length. So these are all the same diameter screws, they're just different lengths. So let's get one out, let's have a look at them all. 1, 2, and 3. So, all the same diameter screw, just different lengths. And I have a vast array of screws down in my workshop. I use all sorts of different sizes and lengths for different things, and it really is just a case of what I feel like using at that moment in time. Sometimes I feel like using a particular type of screw and I won't have it available in my box, I'll be run out, and I'll just use something else. I just find it really useful to have a good selection. So those are the 2 numbers that matter, the diameter and the length. So I've got a few other screws that I'm going to show you as well. So all these 3 screws are the same length. They're just different diameters. So this is 3. This is 3.5. No, this is 3. This is 4, and this is 5. So if we I'll show you the box. There's the 4 by 30, and then we've got 5 by 30. So that's how they change. And you know, different applications. Again, different applications, different size screws, different things that I'll do. And I always have, I just said this, I've got a massive selection of screws. Let me show you my screw box, because this is just a very small selection. So here are my screw boxes. There's 2 of them. And the one on the right, these are for big screws, big chunky screws that probably don't get used very often, but every day, same as everything else. You just every time you need a big one, you just need it, and this is where I keep the big ones. Then I've got a second box, little cardboard box, just full of screws, lots of different sizes, shapes, all sorts in here. I just find it useful to keep it stocked up. Screws, just, you know, different purposes, need different shapes and sizes, so I always have a lot of them. But yeah, that's screws. Okay, let's finally move on to some sort of demonstration. Man, it's time to start showing some stuff. So I've got a few tests lined up, just a few demonstrations, just to show you how these things work. First, I'm just going to start off with a normal sort of tip. I use a lot of these sorts of drill bits, which are very, very small, and they're very, very fragile, and they break really, really easily. And it's really, really easy to apply too much pressure to the drill and snap one of these. So, first thing, before we go any further, we're going to pop the drill in the end, pop it onto 2, so we're in drilling mode. We're already in full power, so that's how I would phrase it. And what we want to do is we just want to break the surface a little bit. You know, one of the key things about using a power drill is keeping enough force on the top to make it work, but we don't want to put too much force so that we snap the drill bit. So it's just a case of breaking the surface, and then once the surface is broken, we can go all the way through. That's how you get the best out of a little drill bit. Now, So that's just a little tip. I just wanted to get that out of the way so I don't forget this stuff. Second thing, I've got a bigger meteor drill bit here, and I'm going to use it on both of these settings. So I want to show you how obvious it is that this is being used wrongly, at the wrong setting. So I'm going to put it on 1. Obviously I would normally use this on 2, and that's what I would recommend using it on, but I'll show you how it looks when you use it on 1. Okay, so you can see barely breaking the surface really, and I am applying a certain amount of pressure. Let's just try it over on 2. You're actually getting the reward of your downward action by popping it into 2. So that's what I wanted to show. I just wanted to show those 2 modes in action. And I also want to show those 2 modes in action with screws so you can see what it looks like. Because sometimes with this stuff, if you know instinctively that you're doing something wrong, it doesn't feel right, then you can stop yourself before you do any damage to anything. So, got a bog standard PZ2 drill bit in the ends. And we've got a 4x35 screw, we've got 2 of them. I just want to put one of them in with each mode so you can see. So mode 1, this is the mode that I would usually use with screws. This is what it looks like. Nice and controlled, not too fast. Perfect, How can you complain about that? This is what it looks like in mode 2 on high speed. Yeah. So, I mean, no control, it's got much faster, and it's actually hurt my wrist a little bit, that. So, as I said, mode 1 for screwing, mode 2 for drilling. That's what I wanted to show with these 2. Next test / demonstration, got some lines marked up, and I just want to try out these settings. So I've got 4, 8, 12, I've got the various settings that are on this drill, and I just want to see how far each screw bit goes down. Each screw goes down into the wood, just to show you what it does. So let's get some screws. So that's on power 4. This test isn't going to work. I'm going to change the numbers. One. Okay. So what's happening here, my test is failing, and the reason is because I've got 2 sheets of ply, but the top sheet is hard, the bottom sheet is soft. So the screws are going all the way, these aren't finding their way through the top sheet, but these are, once they find their way through the top sheet, this is like jelly, it's just going straight through. So this is not doing what I wanted to do. I need to let's get a different piece of wood, that's the answer. Alright, second go. Let's try this again. I'm going to go back to my original idea of trying it in segments of 4. Let's see what happens. Okay, all I'm trying to achieve is a simple test that demonstrates how this thing works. And it just... One. I mean, it's a crude test, but you can kind of see what they're doing. I mean, my problem is that what's the point of having screws that stick out a little bit? If you've got it on infinite power and the screw reaches the surface of the wood, and you just take your finger off the trigger, and then it stops going in. Like, what? There must be some sensitive, I don't know, torque controlled method. But you know, this isn't sophisticated. This is not going to be providing a sophisticated measurement between these numbers. I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't understand. But that's how it works. It just puts more power in, so the screw goes in further. Yeah. Okay. Demonstration's over. So that's the end of the video. Done. Next. Nope. Not done. Not next. Not finished yet. Bigfoot, you're an idiot. This is a big topic. Okay, I'm getting a little bit scared by the length of the video, and I thought about putting this thing in a separate place because it's quite an important tip, and I don't want to just lose it at the end of a really long episode where, you know, potentially not many people are still watching. But, you know, I am here for completeness. I want to make this video complete. So let's do everything. Let's get everything in the same video that I want in the same video, regardless of however long it's taken to get it in the video. I'm rambling. I'm making the situation worse. Right. So we've got 2 pieces of wood, and my plan, what I want to demonstrate is I want to join these 2 pieces of wood together. So I've drawn 2 lines. Ignore these lines. These are from an old job. This is just a bit of scrap that I've got lying around the floor. So I've drawn these 2 lines, and what I want to do is I want this piece of wood to be here. I want to line it up with the bottom face flush, and then whatever liner I have up here, I'm not really all that fussed about. And what most people do, you know what? Let's not do what most people do. What I did first time around when I started out doing carpentry was I would mark up this side like so that I would know where my screws were going, and then I would drill those screws. Let's just mark this up so that it's right. There's the piece of wood. Let's say I'm going to put a screw here and a screw here. I mean, as part of this tip, don't put screws right on the edge, because when it goes through here, you know, if it comes through right on the edge, it will just splinter this and spool away, and you won't get very good connection. You always want to step these screws in from any edge, less so on a cut edge. So the grains of the wood are like this, and you get a better connection at the edges when you're cutting. Anyway, these are the 2 screw holes that I want to make. And what I did when I started out was I would drill those screw holes, and then I would try and line this up on the outside, like so. And then I would screw through from the outside through the same hole that I drilled it from, and I would try and line this up so that it was in the right place, you know. And it was never really very accurate. That wasn't my problem. The problem is that the drills themselves. So if we imagine that we're screwing from the outside in, which is what I'm trying to demonstrate here. This is the outside of whatever I'm making. This is the inside. I'm drilling it outside in. Then the drill bit might not necessarily go in straight, but it will go in where you put it here. It will go in dead center from this side, but it might not necessarily come out dead center. And by the time it's reached here, it might be taking off a corner of the bit of ply. So by doing it this way, you know, I'm allowing for all sorts of inaccuracies in what happens with this drill bit, and it just never really worked out very well. And the conclusion I came to was, well, I'm doing this the wrong way round. Like, what the, you know? Okay, let's switch it round and do it another way. So let's say we mark up the inside of whatever we're making. So now we know where those lines are going. We can line up the wood with the lines on the inside face, easy peasy. Okay, let's drill the hole from the inside out, because we only really care about where the drill comes through. We want the drill to come through in the middle of this bit of ply. We don't really care about where the drill comes through on this side. You know, this is the outside. It doesn't matter from a structural perspective, getting the connections right. It doesn't matter where the screws come out on the outside. It only matters where they cross. at where the points of the pieces of timber cross. And so what I do now, whenever I drill any holes on any pieces of furniture and make that piece of furniture, I always mark up the inside of whatever I'm making so that these things line up. And then I always drill from the inside out. And that way, where this line is always in the middle, it's always in the middle of this. It's always in the right place. I mean, let's just do what I did before. Let's say, it's now pivoting around the middle face here. So how wrong can it go before it sticks out the side? It's got to go much worse. You've got to be much less accurate with this thing to make it really, really bad. You've got to make it really inaccurate to make it so bad that the screw starts sticking out the side of the ply when it meets along these two faces. So that's really the last tip, and it's going to be something that I'm going to cover in a lot of videos because it's so fundamental to making things accurate, making things fit together perfect, that I'm going to drum it home. Whenever on all of the case studies, anything that I make, if I'm using a power drill, I'm doing this strategy. And the thing is, they do actually make a drill bit. Oh, that's it. There we go. With a countersink, like already built in, like the two things overlapping. But that only works when you're drilling from the outside, because then it does the countersink at the same time. It doesn't work if you're doing it from the inside, because you want the drill. So I've always just assumed that this is a common problem that maybe people are getting wrong, because they're making tools specifically to allow you to get it wrong, in my opinion. You know, the only way to get this right is to have these as two separate tools. You drill from the inside out, and then you use that hole to line up your countersink on the outside. That's how it works with these power drills for me. That is, it works perfectly. Works perfectly. And it's obvious why it works perfectly, because it's obvious. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm being a smart ass, because I'm certain that not many carpenters do this. And anyway, but regardless, I'm telling you, and it's going to be at the end of this long bloody video, but it's not going to be the only time that I cover it. But it is an important subject. So anyway, that I think finally is going to be the end of the episode. It's got to be the end of the episode. Got to be. There's nothing more I can say. Well, maybe I can say just one more little thing. Just one, maybe. Just one little thing. Last thing, I promise, I'm not going to do any more things. I've got to finish this episode. So I've got this like really weird power drill, and it's really useful, really handy. If you imagine you've got some sort of bookshelf or something and you're trying to put a screw in it, you know, this thing is big. You know, it's got to have it's going to need a big gap to get in there. And this uses the same batteries, it's got the same basic setup. I mean, it's just a really useful little device. If you ever find yourself cramped up for space whilst you're screwing, if you're screwing or drilling, another useful tool to have in the armoury, definitely. You know, if you ever find that you need it, don't necessarily go and buy one, but you know, if you ever find that this is too big and getting in the way, then just remember that Bigfoot said, oh, there's this special chap that will get in there and get it done, don't you worry. Okay, I am done. Video over.